Alright, YouTube, our opponents are making that hasty attack now that we wanted them to make. You can see that they're rushing forward, and they have a fairly sound strategy here, and I'll explain what that is. They're going to rush most of their troops right towards me and on my allies' right flank, and what they're going to do is rush up in files. They're going to send their, or by rank I should say, they're going to send their Russian Jaegers and Voltigeurs in first to absorb my rifle fire, and then they're going to send their line up close behind with cavalry close behind that. And their strategy is going to be to make a massive frontal cavalry charge to disrupt our line forces, and this is their idea of being able to disrupt us so that they can then move their line into place, and once their cavalry's dead, their line will be opening fire on our men who are already disrupted. But I should have laid down a stake line. I didn't, but I have my my infantry close by for support, so the enemy cavalry strike is slowed down on my Nassau Jaegers, and then the cavalry gets shot to pieces by my line infantry, and whatever shots that I'm firing that miss are going back into the enemy infantry forces. So here a massive fight gets started, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to show you this battle, because it turns into an extremely bloody fight. So my opponent's strategy to move forward and disrupt our line failed for the most part. They are going to get some disruption right here on these two units, and then the Frenchman is actually going to go ahead and charge his men all the way forward. So the Frenchman takes a big beating, the Russian does alright, but now they just used a tactic there of using their cavalry to try and disrupt my men. It backfired a little bit, didn't go as well as they wanted, but it did cause some disruption, and so my infantry forces are taking some pretty sound casualties. But now I'm going to use their own strategy against them, and I'm now that their men are have fired off most of their volleys, I'm going to now charge my heavy cavalry force through my own line, and I'm going to charge it up and start smashing into the Russians. And I have 3 units of carabiners here, so this is a heavy cavalry force. You don't see me use heavy cavalry too often, but I brought it in this fight in case I needed a cavalry force to be able to deliver a knockout blow. So here you can see I'm just going to run amok with my carabiners from one piece of the battle to the next, and I will just attack any units that aren't square, and if my opponent forms squares, I'm simply just going to move on and attack the next unit. Let's take an above look real quick. You can see that this causes like complete mayhem in the French lines, and the French troops are starting to rout, and they're completely disorganized. However, I'm still in a lot of trouble, as there's a lot of Russian troops left right here. You can see this fight out here. The French general is now caught behind right in the middle of the fire too. But my troops are taking massive casualties, and the Russians have reinforcements as well, plus their generals in the vicinity, plus they have men up on this ridge. So I've got to tip the tides of this battle pretty quick with my cavalry. You can see there the Russian general is inspiring his troops, so I did the same. I just inspired all of my troops. I brought my general up, he's right here. And he is running behind the lines to inspire the men. So my cavalry now is extremely beat up, but I'm still using it to create as much disruption as possible. So here they are running in between the lines still. And this is keeping the Russians from being able to stay in position. It'll force squares and just cause general mayhem. And if I lose my cavalry, it's fine, just so long as I've caused as much disruption as possible. So you can see the French player, like I said, his armies were badly damaged. Here they're in a melee with my Prussian ally. And the Frenchmen and the Russian are using their general as best they can to keep their men in the fight. So let's check the action here. My opponent, I was asking him for help because a lot of his troops are still over here on this flank where there is no French opponent, and he didn't move them, which is starting to worry me because he's getting flanked pretty bad here on his right flank, and then also the Russians are pushing in between my lines. So at this point I'm going to make a tactical retreat. So I'm going to tactically retreat my men back just a little bit and reform my lines to where I can hold my flank a little better. And this will also spread my men out and give me a better arc of fire. So there you can see my men falling back into the right position, and I'm also moving my general back. And then my troops who are defending the ridge over here, I'm going to run them back as well. and force my Russian opponent to bring his troops down here. That was the last of my carabiners routing there, by the way. They actually got all the way up here into this plateau and caused even disruption to these troops. So there we go. I have pulled back all my troops, and now the Russian has to march forward once again. And as he does so, he will suffer high losses. So here's my Dutch line infantry. I haven't played as the United Netherlands on this game in a long time. The Dutch were an excellent faction on Empire Total War. Not so great on Napoleon, but they're still pretty good, actually. They have a pretty good unit selection for being just a minor faction on the game. And I actually was pretty impressed with the quality of the Dutch troops, especially when you have the general like I do right behind them to support. They actually hold their ground quite well, even against top-of-the-line French troops. Here these Fusiliers are getting absolutely destroyed. Napoleon would not approve. So now my opponent is getting flanked pretty badly. The Russian has good position on him, and I asked my my ally for help, but he's having a hard time micromanaging his troops, I think. And so now that I've routed these French troops, I'm going to run my line infantry up to support him. So these Russian troops right here are about to start getting shot in the back as well, and that'll definitely have an effect on their morale in a big hurry. So let's watch that. You can see that like the whole battlefield is just absolutely filled with smoke on my side, and that's because there has just been a massive and furious engagement here. I really like this battle. I thought it was really fun. Our opponents played well. They got forced into a brash attack. Their attack was bold. I think it had some good strategy. It just didn't go the way that they had hoped, and I think that caused general disruption and a loss of cohesion in their armies. And once that happened, I think that's when the tide of the battle fell into our favor. I'm just routing some of the last Russian troops over here, and I'm still using my general to inspire my men. So you can see that my morale is like impetuous, and the Russian morale is very poor. Both enemy generals are now dead. So here's the last charge of the Russian musketeers, and they're going to get repulsed by my line infantry. Sorry fellows, you're going to have to go back to Russia. Anyway, that is pretty much the end of the battle. Hope you enjoyed this battle. I thought it was pretty nice. You can see the carnage here from above. There was definitely a huge fight going on my side of the battlefield. There's the battle results and all the players. Here's some unit statistics for anybody who's interested. I had a couple of units of line infantry that got an absurd number of kills. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that Napoleon battle. I'll make sure to bring you more in the future.